told you about the thyroid. Now we will do the parathyroid gland. So, the parathyroids are four tiny glands. They are located in the neck and they control the body's calcium level. Each gland is about the size of a grain of rice, and they produce a hormone called as parathyroid hormone. As you can see over here, this is your right lobe, left lobe, isthmus. This is thyroid. On the posterior aspect, these are the four parathyroids provided by the same blood supply as the thyroid gland. Now, how does it work? Low calcium, it actually tells about whenever the calcium level falls below 8.5, it stimulates the parathyroid gland. I'm sure you must have read about this in your physiology curriculum, but just as a recap, parathyroid gland leads to three responses: one in the bone, and the intestine, and the kidneys. In the bone, osteoclasts are stimulated and calcium is released from the bone. Similarly, rate of intestinal absorption of calcium it increases, and the kidneys retain more calcium. So it results in an increased calcium level in the bloodstream. So moving on, hypoparathyroidism. It's a state of decreased secretion of activity of parathyroid hormone. This leads to decreased blood levels of calcium and increased levels of phosphorus. Hyperparathyroidism is an increase in parathyroid hormone levels, and this occurs from a disorder within the parathyroid gland, primary hyperparathyroidism, or outside the parathyroid gland, secondary hyperparathyroidism. It results in too much parathyroid hormone production. Now, what is primary hyperparathyroidism? It is defined as hypercalcemia in the presence of unsuppressed and therefore elevated parathyroid hormone levels. The disorder primarily lies in the gland and incidentally is found out as a work of hypercalcemia. Bones, tones, groans, and psychic overtones, these are the synonyms which are expressed to tell about these problems. It may also present as pancreatitis, and there is a raised calcium or inappropriately normal parathyroid hormone, and often a low serum phosphate due to renal phosphate wasting. How do you diagnose it? You check the PTH levels, the calcium levels, the ultrasound, and the system EB scan. The system EB scan, the parathyroid hormone actually light up. Then you can also check the vitamin D levels and the DEXA scans. The mainstay of treatment is surgery. All symptomatic patients should be offered surgery. The etiology should be addressed, and the consent for surgery must include recurrent laryngeal nerve damage. There is a less than 1%, but there is a risk of recurrent damage. Indications for surgery in asymptomatic patients in which the calcium increases, creatinine clearance is less than 60. This T-score, this comes out in the DEXA scan, is less than 50 years and whose medical monitoring is not possible. Now, hypercalcemia management could be mild, moderate, severe. Mild, 10 to 12 serum calcium, usually asymptomatic, no medical management, avoid thiazides, lithium, high calcium diet, and volume depletion and prolonged inactivity. Similarly, moderate could be asymptomatic or symptomatic. When it's asymptomatic, the same as a mild. In symptomatic, intravenous normal saline 300 per hour and bisphosphonates. Then there's severe hypercalcemia, in which you give intravenous normal saline, calcitonin, sensipar, furosemide, bisphosphonates, and if it is recurrent, is very severe, then you proceed and do the parathyroidectomy or the hemodialysis. Now some special cases, lithium-induced hyperparathyroidism. In those patients who work in the battery industry in lithium, 10 to 15% of patients may have it. There is mild elevation in calcium with failure to suppress the PTH. Underlying pathology may be gland hyperplasia or a single adenoma. Biochemical abnormalities may resolve with discontinuation of this. Minimally invasive surgery contraindicated due to multi-gland disease. That there are some familial syndromes which are MEN1, MEN2. These are mostly asked in your exam, so you should know what is MEN1, what is MEN2, and hyperparathyroid tumor syndrome and familial hypercalciuric hypercalcemia. Now we come to the secondary hyperparathyroidism, and there is derangements in calcium homeostasis. It occurs primarily as a result of chronic renal failure, and other causes may include vitamin D deficiency, liver disease, chronic lithium usage. It is characterized by raised PTH with low calcium. So you should know what are the blood levels in primary, what are the secondary, and what are they in a tertiary. They are usually asked. Now, indications for intervention in secondary hyperthyroidism. Persistently high levels of PTH, hyperphosphatemia, and estimated volume is large. Now, what is tertiary hyperparathyroidism? It is tertiary hyperparathyroidism due to hyperplasia of the parathyroid glands. Okay, the first one was due to PTH, due to increased PTH. This second one is was due to kidney problems, and this one is due to hyperplasia of the parathyroid. It generally occurs in the end stage renal failure. It results in raised calcium and a very raised PTH. Elevated total or ionized calcium is an estimated elevated or unsuppressed PTH and a reduced phosphate, at least occurring 1 year post-renal transplant. The treatment of choice is surgical removal of 3 and 1/2 parathyroid gland. As you see, primary, secondary, tertiary. This slide is important. This is mostly asked in exams. What is the level and what changes occur in different types of hyperparathyroidism? Persistent hyperparathyroidism defined as elevated calcium within 6 weeks of surgical intervention. Recurrent is defined as after 6 months after surgery, and the causes are pathology at first surgery, hyperplasia, parathyroidism, or very rare development of secondary parathyroidism. Okay. So, any questions which you guys want to ask, you can ask me.